Hi, Alexandra Morton here. I'm talking to you from my home on the BC coast. For those of you who don't know me, I am a biologist. I came up here to study whales, but now I'm embroiled in trying to prevent the salmon feedlot industry from destroying wild salmon, which are the bloodstream of this coast. Over the last year, as a result of being a participant in the Federal Cohen Commission into the decline of the Fraser sockeye, I have been tracking 3 European viruses throughout British Columbia. This includes most of the Fraser River, the Central Coast, Vancouver Island, but also in the supermarkets around Vancouver, Victoria, and elsewhere. So I go to the supermarkets, I buy farm salmon, I test them for these 3 European viruses, I go out in the rivers, I talk to fishermen, I collect wild fish, and I'm testing them for European viruses. I'm not doing these tests in my basement, as some people have suggested. I'm sending them off to experts, world experts, both in Canada and also in Norway, where they're very familiar with these 3 viruses because they're a huge problem for the salmon farming industry in Norway. Some of these viruses are of enormous significance to the industry in Chile. One of them has caused $2 billion worth of damage down there. I can say that there's some wild fish populations in British Columbia that a few years ago were completely clear of some of these viruses, and now they're heavily infected. This is a warning sign because when you allow an exotic virus to go into a group of animals, fish, people, whatever, that are not exposed, have no experience with these viruses, they very likely cannot fight it. You are definitely playing a dangerous game with anything that is precious to you when you start to expose it to new viruses. We know this. We really do. My sense is that government is afraid of this issue. They have completely failed us. They're doing nothing about any of these viruses that I'm detecting. I've tried to communicate it to them. Certainly the Canadian Food Inspection Agency gets the positive test results on one of the viruses called ISA virus. It's in the influenza family, and it's a reportable virus internationally. So the government knows all of the findings that I have been able to produce, but there's still no action been taken. Now, in eastern Canada, the ISA virus is going epidemic. There's been 4 recent outbreaks, all new strains. You know, being in the influenza family, it mutates rapidly, and it seems to have reached a critical lethal state. And the government was compensating the fish farm company for up to $30 per fish for killing their fish, because they didn't want this virus to spread to other farms, to wild fish, and presumably they didn't want it entering the food chain. But they gave that up in the last few weeks. They've approved the ISA virus-infected farm salmon for sale to the public. It's as if they now want to dispose of it down the throats of Canadians and get us to pay the company for raising these disease fish. The United States came out with a statement saying, so it was Morgan Leskinsky of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said, salmon with the virus would not be allowed across the border because American law prohibits the importation of any diseased animal. This was very recently quoted in the Toronto Star. But in January, on January 16th, there was an agreement between the U.S. and Canada specifically about allowing a product with an exotic disease to go across the border, which I find this a very strange agreement. But Minister Ritz, the agriculture minister, said cross-border trade in live animals, meat, and other animal products and byproducts contributes billions of dollars to the Canadian economy. Follow the money. This arrangement will keep U.S. market opportunities open for Canadian producers should a foreign animal disease outbreak occur. Whoa. I don't know that that is a very good idea to allow foreign virus to now cross the border. So there seems to be a little bit debate as to whether the United States is going to take this product or not. The reason the salmon farming industry is in British Columbia is to sell to the United States. So this, of course, is critical to them. Now, the reason I feel a particular urgency and have begun now to try to bring this to you using Photo Booth is because I recently got news that hundreds of thousands of young Atlantic salmon are going to be put into BC waters in the coming weeks that are known to be infected with the Piscine reovirus. The Piscine reovirus was only discovered in 2010. So that means that all the eggs, the 30 million Atlantic salmon eggs that came into British Columbia before that, could not be screened for that virus. This is exactly why scientists did not want Atlantic salmon fish farming in British Columbia. In the 1980s and the early 1990s, many government scientists and bureaucrats said, do not import Atlantic salmon. We are guaranteed to get an exotic virus that we perhaps don't even know about today. Well, this is exactly what has happened. And the scientists that I talked to about Piscine reovirus in Norway, they say that a fish that exhibits the disease caused by this virus will not be able to swim up a river. Well, we all know that salmon have to swim up a river to be able to spawn. One of the critical things that I learned at the Cohen Commission is that up to 90% of some runs of Fraser sockeye in some years are dying after they enter the river, but they never get through the rapids. Hell's Gate is named Hell's Gate because it is a just seething mass of water coming down under very high speed. So I am testing fish in the Fraser River. I am testing fish all over the place for Piscine reovirus. It's a very tough little virus. It's very durable. And so I am extremely concerned when I hear that Marine Harvest is going to put hundreds of thousands of Piscine reovirus infected fish into British Columbia waters. If you care about this, if you care about wild salmon, there's a couple of options for you, the individual, because you are the only one that is going to be able to stop this. I personally can't stop this by myself. The government has made it very clear they're afraid of this issue. I mean, the fish farm lobby is extraordinarily powerful. They're very good at what they do. They have convinced everybody that these diseases either don't exist or are not a problem. So there's two things you can do. One is boycott the product. We have a website. It's salmonfeedlotboycott.com. The other thing you can do, we are coming into a provincial election, and the province of British Columbia is the landlord of this industry. They grant a license of occupation to every single salmon feedlot in British Columbia, and you can tell them that if these viruses are really here, and I am going to provide that research just as soon as we can get it published, then these licenses of occupation must be revoked on the major migration routes of our wild salmon. And that means the entire coast of eastern Vancouver Island and the inlets of the Knights Inlet and Kinkham Inlet, because 1/3 of all Canada's wild salmon are going through that area. So these are the two things you can do. The industry is on the rocks financially. They're doing very poorly in the world market. There's too much farm salmon on the market. Honestly, I think getting out of British Columbia would not be that bad a thing for them. If you're a fish farmer listening to this and you're concerned about your job, talk to me. Let's figure something out. You are hardy coastal folks. You know how to run boats. You are adapted to this place incredibly. There are other ways to go. We do not have to destroy our planet just to have a job. So that's all for now, and I'll be doing these updates regularly. Thank you very much for listening. It's Alexander Morton.